ProTinkerToys.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, and this is July 4th. I hope everybody can hear me well. And the title of my podcast this morning, or my live stream, and welcome to ProTinkerToys.com. This is the website for YouTube for our website, which is for the store. And I'm a patriot, and so today I'm going to tell you a story, and it's called I Am America. And why I believe that the United States of America, as of to date, is the greatest nation to ever come to fruition in the history of mankind. And I'm going to lay out a chronological history. So buckle up, share this with everybody you can possibly can, because we're going on a ride of history of I Am America. And so we are going to start with the fact that um, a lot of people hate this country. Would say conservatively 30% of Americans hate this country, which to me is pretty amazing in itself. But so let's look at history in a nutshell from the known history that we know. We can go back biblically and extract some history, but let's pull out some names that everybody would be familiar with, and that is Genghis Khan, Caesar, all the Caesars, Augustus, Nero, Caligula. You've got emperors, like I said, Napoleon. You've got Alexander the Great, Chinese dynasties, 5 or 6 of those at least. Japanese feudal lords. You've got, and then in the modern history, you have Stalin, you have Hitler, you have the Kaiser, the Germany. You have it never ended. Okay, never ended. Those tyrants and dictators. Okay, please go away. I'm on a live stream right now. I don't care. I'm trying to do a live stream and you just interrupted me. Unbelievable. Okay, well, I didn't want that, dear. I'm right in the middle of a dialogue. So all through history, we've had these tyrants that have kept man in bondage, kept man in a perpetual sense of ownership. They were owned by either a king or a Napoleon, for example. How many died to uh, uh, appease his quest for dominance and his lust for power? Hundreds of thousands. And Napoleonic Wars. I mean, France, Europe was in a nonstop battle for all the 1800s mostly, and the late 1700s. It just never stopped. Okay. And this is my belief. This has always been my belief that if America had not been America, okay, I want everybody to understand this and try to realize this. Good morning. The title of today's podcast is "I Am America." my true belief is that if America had not been formed as a country and it was under the British rule, you had the British, you had the French, and you had the Spaniards over here. Germany, not so much. I believe that as of today in 2021, America would be in the feudal wars that Europe. There would be no change in the monarchy system from all these countries. You would have France battling Spain. Spain would battling the Spaniard or the English. America would just be another battlefield, basically. There would be no transcontinental railroad. Number one, there would be no Chicago, or these great cities in America. Um, we would still be we might be in a little bit more enlightenment state, but there would not have been the electricity. We would not have flight. Um, these things I truly believe, because if you take from 1776, let's say the back 200 years to 1676 or 1576, man had really not changed. Uh, 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 um, Man had really not changed in the sense of inventions and what do I want to say? What's the word I want to use? Economically, and they were still under the feudal system of kings and peasants, and you had a little bit more representation, okay, but you still had the kings and the monarchy type system, and keeping most of your citizens as peasants, okay, and in 1776, everything changed. The world changed from that point on. It was never going to be the same, okay, from 1776 on, because we created a document that we, the people, wanting to form a more open society, that we are endowed by our creators with certain that's key. We're endowed by our creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, and that's very key, because everybody said, well, life's living in pursuit of happiness. That means I can do it whatever I want. See, and this is where Jefferson was very clear when he said that America cannot sustain itself without God. If you do not have God in your society will fall. And we are headed that way if we don't make a correction. Because without God, without morals, without a code, okay. Hey, could you guys keep the noise down, please? Thank you. I'm doing I could have not done this. You just should have said something, and I wouldn't have gotten live, okay? You know, everybody was quiet, everybody was sleeping, and all of a sudden I decided to do it live, and everybody just starts talking and everything. Just wonderful. So in 1776, I don't care. I didn't get off then, Shane. That's where this is 4th of July, and I'm talking about America. Why America is the greatest nation on earth. I am America. You are America. So in 1776, America, we became a nation. Now everybody wants to say, well, we weren't a perfect nation because we still had slavery. Well, the fact of the matter is, let's look at that one example, slavery. Uh, Nobody realizes this because nobody wants to talk about it. Slavery still goes on in this world. Matter of fact, it still goes on in Africa. It still goes on in a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. Just so you guys know, slavery is alive and well in the 20s in 2021. Okay, but America fought a civil war to stop it. To say, hey, listen, well, why didn't we do it in the beginning? Well, we wouldn't have been a country because a lot of the southern states, that was their trade. But if time was allowed to play out, slavery would have gone away just like anything else would have. Okay, people would have finally realized. That's why most of your Christians finally realize that you can't do this. Okay, and people say, well, that's the hypocrisy of Christianity. You know, talks in the Bible about slaves. You know, the slaves honoring the master and everything. Blah blah blah. People don't understand culture. You know, I wish some of these people that talk like this would have lived under Caesar, okay, or lived under Napoleon, or lived under Genghis Khan. You know, they talk this talk of, oh, everything needs to be peace and freedom. You know, I love all these movies nowadays they make, and they always talking about freedom and well, you know what? 400 years ago, before America, there wasn't a lot of talk about freedoms, okay? Individual freedoms and my freedom and my right to do this. There were no rights, people. Let's get it clear. Before 1776, there were no rights. Nobody had rights, period. But nobody wants to grasp that. Everybody lives in this utopia that they want to create, and it's not there. So in 1776, we changed everything. And I wish people would really take a perspective look from 1776 to 2010 or 2021. Because what happened in those 249 years, and I guess now, or 239 years, is absolutely revolutionary. Not since the time of man. I don't even, you can't even record it. How fast man has evolved from 1776 to 2021. It's astounding. But nobody wants to look at those things. Nobody wants to look at it from an open view. Everybody wants to live under tyranny. And that is what's very interesting. Okay? People would rather live under a tyrant than live under freedom. Because it's, I don't know, maybe we need to go back to a tyrant. Maybe we need a tyrant for, 100 years. For people to really realize, all of a sudden you could look back, boy, America was actually pretty good. That's why I never watched the series Man in the High Castle, because at the very end, the liberators, they're in the forest and everything, and all of a sudden they bring out the American flag because they want to start America. They think there's going to be a resurgence, and there's some of the actors or some of the people in this movie. They look at that and they go, "That's a racist. That's racist." There are some African Americans in it. Obviously, they hated America, and so they buried the American flag. That's because they don't understand what America truly is. Okay, they don't understand the black culture or African Americans in the 1920s and 30s, how prosperous they were. Okay, it wasn't until some things in the 60s that started to destroy the African American family. Number one, no families. If you don't have a strong family, you ain't a family to begin with. Period. So from 1776 to 2021, America has done something that no other nation has done in the history of mankind. And I always talk about this. There's no man in history. Where'd Missy go? Where's Mark? Where's Mark? There's no one back there. Oh, all right. So here's the interesting aspect that people never want to talk about. So George Washington, everyone used to say he's the worst man on earth, which I would disagree. I think George Washington was probably the greatest leader, the greatest general ever to step forward on the planet Earth. And there's one reason. Well, there's two reasons why. Number one, no general or no man has ever given up so much, okay, for so little. He literally, at the end of the war, came to his officers and cried and said, "I'm going back to Vermont, to West or to Mount Vernon." He says, "And goodbye." No other person has ever done that. That's humility, number one. That's the true spirit of God in him, number two. Napoleon, nope, had too much power. He was all about himself, power. Then the second aspect of George Washington is a letter that he wrote to Martha Washington during the Civil War or during the American Revolutionary War. And he talked about how, he wished the whole thing was over and that when he's done, he wants to rebuild the kitchen, his kitchen. And I'm thinking, okay, so here's a guy that's doing all this battle. He's not writing a letter to Martha saying, boy, I want to take over America. I want to be this king and all this. No, he talked about wanting to go back to Mount Vernon and work on his kitchen. That's another thing about humility, okay? That started what became the greatest nation on earth, where we've had 45 presidents. I mean, think about it. We've had 45 presidents. 45 presidents. Well, 46 now. We've had 46 presidents. How long are we going to last? I don't know. Unless there's a change, unless people realize how great this nation is, maybe we need to have a war on America. Maybe somebody needs to nuke one of our cities for us to wake up. Okay? For all of us to understand that America is the greatest nation to ever come by or ever to come along in world history. So we had our Civil War, split the nation in half. We unified. Then we had the first World War, World War One. Europe is always in flames. America sent its guys over there. 100,000, thousands died. We stopped it. It's amazing. Whenever America gets in a war, a real war, we stopped it. World War II, we stopped it. 80 million people died during World War II. 80 million people worldwide died in World War II. America, we stopped it. We became the most powerful nation the world had ever seen, ever. We had the largest navy in the world. If America was this evil country, we could have literally have declared war on the world and won. We had the largest navy, nearly 500 ships, okay? Largest aircraft, the largest everything. We had it, okay? But no, what did we do? We set everybody up. We set all their countries up. We helped them rebuild. We had the Marshall Plan to rebuild everything. We rebuilt Japan. Japan now is our closest ally. They consider us a brother, okay? And we rebuilt Japan, and Japan became a great economic economic might. Then we had Korea. If it wasn't for our politicians, because America was like getting to the point where why are we fighting all these wars? Why are we doing all this? Well, we were stopping tyrants. And if it wasn't for Truman and let MacArthur do what MacArthur wanted to do, we would have won Korea. We have really put the Chinese on their heels because we almost won that war. And then we had Vietnam. Same thing happened. We had Vietnam won, but the politicians didn't want to see the bombing, and that's how you stop a tyrant: is you blow them to kingdom come. You know, war is about winners and losers. You don't play a game of Monopoly wanting to lose. You play to win. Risk. You don't go playing Risk and say, "Well, I want to help everybody." No, you're going to get annihilated. There's only one way to win Risk, and that's annihilate your opponent. But people don't understand that. And now we are this racist, bigoted, homophobic country. We are the worst nation ever. And I sometimes think, God, you know what? Show them what the world would be like without America. And I'll show you the 1800s in Europe in constant war, suffrage, carnage, death. World War II, World War One. How many wars were fought in the 1800s? Unbelievable how many. I mean, we even had a spat with Spain, the Spanish-American War. We stopped that really fast. You say, well, we imposed our view. Well, yeah, you know what? Sometimes you do have to impose your righteous views. Yeah, the righteous. And you say, well, America's not righteous. Oh, it isn't, huh? Yeah, it's not perfect right now. Okay. And we've got some generals and some politicians that are sure screwing it up. And that's the thing. You know, how long can we survive? I don't know. Unless we have a awakening, I don't know. And maybe we don't need. Maybe we should be in a period of a tyrant or a dictator or a despot. You know, maybe that's we need to wake people up because this generation, okay, they haven't seen anything, and they've gotten too soft. That's the problem. They don't know what suffrage really is. Not in a personal personal level. But people want to. I am America. I am America. I am. I'm a part of America. I am America. I am what she becomes. The freedom. I was telling this last night with Mark about chocolate and just about things that we take for granted things today. That before America came, there was no uh, consumer goods. Everything was for the aristocracy, the rich, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Schumers. It was all for the rich, not for the peasants. That's what they think we are as peasants. Okay. And it's just the opposite. They're the peasants. We are in control. And that's what they fail to realize. This January 6th, that's not their building. That's our building. That's our building to walk in and have respect to. Okay. And if I want to fly a flag inside the rotunda in Washington, I can do that. That's our building. But no, they think it's their building. And that's why we really need to. It says in the Constitution that we have the right to tear down what they are destroying and restore the Union. But they think that was a insurrection. They have no idea what an insurrection is. They're an insurrection because they're destroying the foundations of America. You want to see what despotism is? Go look at of Russia in the 1930s and the 40s. Their consumer goods. They had no consumer goods. Now go look online some of the Russian videos about grocery stores in Russia. It's startling. It's amazing. I just had to do this video about America because a lot of people just and if anybody gives me a thumbs down, you don't deserve to be in America. Just leave. Get out of here. If you don't believe America is the greatest nation on, if you give me a thumbs down, okay, that's amazing. You have no moral code, frankly, and I'm not kidding. You have no moral code. What form of government do you want? Do you want pure democracy? That's the worst form of government. Mob wins. That means that do away with the electoral college. That means that New York and California determine everything that goes on in America. Oh, that's really fair. People here in Wisconsin and Minnesota, their vote doesn't matter. You're just going to work and you're going to do what we tell you, and that's all there is to it. And that's exactly how tyranny starts. That's why we have a representative republic. Representatives are supposed to represent us, but they're not because they're paid off because they're getting a salary from Washington and they live there. They need to live in their states and they need to go to Washington for a couple of weeks and then come back to listen to constituents. Because I guarantee if they listen to their constituents, they're going to have a better understanding of what's going on. No, they go into Washington and they stay there all year long until their vacation time. And then they go to the Hamptons, okay, or these rich places where the rich go or the aristocracy goes. And that's what happens. That's why nothing's changing. And that's why we need a revolution. We need a second revolution, or we need a civil war, one of the two. I know those are harsh words, but there's no other choice. There's no other choice. The left is tearing this country apart. See, and this is what's very interesting is with this critical race theory, they want to bring up race again. They never can get away with race because race is their heroine. And Martin Luther King once said that he hopes that in the future that he can be judged by his character, not by his color. And what are we doing? We're judging people based on their color, not their character. I don't judge anybody by their color or what they look like. I judge them by their character. And that's how you should judge somebody. And we have the right to judge somebody based on their character. I don't need to judge them on the color of their skin. Their skin means nothing. Their eyes, that mean nothing. Okay? That means nothing. And if you don't see that, then you're a racist. I'm not a racist. But that's what they're trying to do. And all you have to do is read the Communist Manifesto. It's in the Communist Manifesto. You divide from within. I mean, look at what we're doing with our military, our top military commander, Joint Chiefs of Staff. The guy should be fired. He should be stripped of all of his rank and be kicked out of the service with no pension. Believe me, I've served with officers like that. They're arrogant and they're ignorant. And there are a lot of them during World War II. I'm telling you, not every person should be an officer. A lot of them were idiots. The man should be thrown out of office. He is dividing this military into segments. And that's what we get. We're getting divided. We're losing our cohesions. We're on the second day heading to Mount Rushmore. And we're going to look at the four most racist presidents ever to live on the face of the earth. The left would just say they're the worst. George Washington, he's they got I lost a racist idiot, which was Abraham Lincoln. That got a nutcase. Everybody now wants to say that he was depressive and he had a lot of mental issues and everything. I tell you, the left and academic, they want to tear down everybody they can find. And then you got Thomas Jefferson. Well, he was a slave owner and he was stupid. He can't listen to him. And then you got Theodore Roosevelt. There was another warmonger. When if you look at each one of those gentlemen and what did they do, okay, they are critical and unique individuals for the time. We want to look at everything through this lens right here, the lens we're in right now. And that's the problem. That's the big problem. Not seeing the big picture. But when you have your afternoon meal today and you're sitting around, just thank God that you're in America. All the people that have come from all the different countries on earth to come to America. Why did we jump from less than 100 million people to 320 million people in less than 100 years? Tell me that. Why is Canada still 40 million people? She followed the same path we did. Why is she only? Why is she only? Uh, why is she only 40 million people? Why is Spain only 40 million people? Why is America the only country that's 320 million people? Tell me that. Give me a good answer. I'll tell you the answer. Freedom. Canada's not free. Not as free as America. I don't want people to think, well, Canada's not free, but it doesn't have the unalienable rights of their citizens. That's why there's only 40 million Canadians. I'm telling you. Look at that's what I find with stark differences. Back in 2000, when I was traveling to Toronto a lot to go to Irwin Toy, I amazed at how on American side you had Chicago, and then as soon as you crossed the Ambassador Bridge into Canada, it was just a little town, nothing, no industry, no growth, no nothing. I'm thinking, why? What happened? Where's the Where's the ingenuity? What's the difference? What makes the difference? You know what I'm saying? Less than 100 years, guys. Nearly 200 million people in America from 1945 to today. The amount of people that America had birthed, staggering, absolutely staggering. It's amazing. I'll probably get about 9 thumbs down on this one. Listen, if you don't love America, then you seriously should consider looking for another country to live in. Of course, then they would tell me, well, you move. I want to turn America into how I want. And that's how wars start. Okay. And most of Americans back in 1776 wanted to break away from Britain. Well, there were a lot of loyalists. Okay. A lot of Tories. I think they were called Tories. I can't think what they were called off the top of my head. Loyalists. We'll just call them loyalists to the king. You know, they didn't want to. They didn't want to be Americans, and then we had to have a full war for it. What do we want to be? And that's what we did. 1776, Valley Forge, George Washington, at the height of his depression. How am I going to win this? And then all of a sudden, the Battle of Trenton, unheard of, and then the story that is probably the greatest story of ingenuity and pure guts and the pure drive of a man and his goal to do something that just is impossible is General Knox going all the way to Ontario and getting these cannons. Okay, see, people just don't understand the terrain that General Knox had to go to get these cannons in Canada and bring them down to Washington. People don't understand the terrain of Pennsylvania. Okay, what he had to go through, what he had to do to get all of that equipment from Canada down to George Washington. It's unbelievable. That should be taught to every school student about determination, about, you know, if you're being told you can't do something, well, then the little kid should say, you can't do, like a teacher might say to a, well, Billy, you can't do that. And the little boy should raise his hand and says, well, General Knox did. He did the impossible. What do you mean, Billy? Well, he brought all these cannons from Ontario through the forest. There were no roads. There were no highways. There were no airplanes. I tell you, man, people need to get a grip. They need to understand. how things are and how things were back in 1776. How it wasn't all just a bunch of cakes and a bunch of MREs and you had your nice little booties and you had shoes and everything. Half these guys didn't even have shoes. That's right. They ran around in bare feet. I'm telling you. And then they cry, well, I don't have my cell phone, or I can't get on my cell phone right now, or you're not telling me that I can do this, or I can't do that. Get a grip. Grow up. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you that if anybody needs to understand something and truly get a grip on what is the impossible, read the story of General Knox. I'm almost positive it's General Knox or Colonel Knox, big heavyset guy. George Washington told him to go into Toronto and get this from this fort, um, and he had to get all these cannons and everything. That should be taught to every high school student, elementary, about fortitude, about uh, seeking your what is impossible. Because can you imagine those guys now? So from Washington's position, probably it was Valley Forge, to General Knox, that was probably about 500 miles, 600 miles. Now I'm on Interstate 90, and I'm on a freeway that is made in concrete and that is cutting across Montana to go to South Dakota. 200 years ago, even 150 years ago, they were getting into wagon trains, setting out from Kansas, okay, in wagon trains, going across to get to California, which is about a 1,500-mile ride. Okay, it took them months. They didn't have no quickie lube. They didn't have no speedway. They had no interstate. They had no freeways. Okay, they had no gas stations or they had what they carried with them. Blacksmiths. They had everything they need to build. And then when they got to a gorge, they had to drop everything into the gorge, walk across, and then bring everything up the gorge and do it all over again. And that's called fortitude. That's called a determination to do something that's impossible, which a lot of Americans, I was told many times, oh, you can't, you don't know what you're doing, Brian, with Young's Newsstand. Many times I was told, this is going to fail, Brian. Really? Yeah, this is going to fail, Brian. You're going to fail. You're going to fail, Brian. Don't do that. Don't do that, Brian. That's not, I wouldn't do that if I was you. Unbelievable. If I've been told, if I was told all, if I listened to all the no's that I was told, I would be in a hole. You got to do what you got to set out what your dreams are. A lot of people, their only dreams that is within 10 miles of them. Step out. We could have stayed home this weekend. Okay, this is these kids will never forget this. I'll be long dead 50 years from now. Okay, and when Frankie's 50 years old, yeah, my dad, we used to go to Mount Rushmore all the time when it was still there. But they blew that up back 20 years ago. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I was the last person to see Mount Rushmore in 2021. Then some terrorists came and blew it up in 2026. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's history. It's doing something. Do something. If you're sitting at home right now and you haven't done something you want to do, go do it before you're dead. Do something you've never done. Go do it. If you fail at it, so what? How many times have I failed at something? Well, I haven't failed in any retail businesses. I will admit. I have failed at certain aspects of retail, and I have had to change my thing. but I never failed in any retail business. All the businesses I've had were somewhat successful, other than some issues like Professor Tinker's workshop. I don't think that was really my fault that it closed. Um, I think that was the owner of malls. And then Dinettes and more, we switched over to a toy store again, and I didn't really have the financial aspect to keep that going. Um, so, um, so that's what America about is doing the impossible. I love the TV series Men That Made America, and it's different things about, you know, uh, uh, Heinz, Mr. Heinz, J.F. Heinz, about Ford, about Vanderbilt, about uh, um, Rockefeller. See, I meant to tell this earlier, what I meant that was saying is that before America, everything that was made was for the aristocracy, the rich. Whatever you made, whatever you bought, the rich would buy it. You would go into the toy store. All the toys in there were really for only the rich, only the wealthy. Okay, but that all changed with America. We then started making things for the average guy. That's called the middle class. Back then, they were the lower class, not completely lower, but they still had some discretionary money. And then we started bringing them slowly out of that, and then they became the middle class. And then Ford said he's going to pay $5 a day, or maybe it's $5 a month. I thought it was $5 a day, a wage, so his workers could afford his pickup, his Model Ts. And that's how it all began. Then Hershey's, he invented the candy bar so that everybody could have a candy bar. The rich would only, just so everybody knows, back in the 1800s or 1700s, chocolate was only the rich, okay, the wealthy, you know. And then that changed, okay. America, that's how it all changed. America. America. I'm not going to sing because I'm terrible at it. So I am America. And we all are I am America. We all are America. Now, those who don't want to be Americans or hate this country and want to turn it into a socialist utopia, let's make the point is there are no utopia socialist countries. There's not a single one of them. None of them work. They're either broke. But see, and the socialists would say, well, we just print more money. No, you can't do that. Because sooner or later, that money you're printing is worthless. And your whole system collapses. I probably shouldn't be talking like this on ProTinkerToys.com, but it's really not ProTinkerToys. It's my ProTinker videos that I have, that I do. I've been doing videos since 2009 for SCX, but I wanted to do a video today about America and why I love it so much. I don't know what its future is right now because we've lost our way a little bit, and it's a little unsettling. But World War II was a dark spot. America, we just had been bombed at Pearl Harbor. Our entire fleet was destroyed. But the one story that's never told is that what the miracle was after Pearl Harbor. How that within 9 months, nearly, I can't remember the exact percentage, so don't quote me, but it was a very high percentage of ships that were back in service after the bombing within 9 months. And that within a year, the the production level in America was so staggering that there was no way Japan could have won, or Germany. The numbers were just unbelievable. I just can't tell you the staggering, and I don't know why it makes me. I just think it's so important and so amazing. It is just amazing, and that people have such a hatred for this country, and they think, well, it's because racism and everything, and there's racism everywhere. Blacks have racism to whites. Blacks have racism to blacks. I was talking to a friend he's married to a white woman, and he gets racial comments all the time from blacks. Why did you why did you betray us? Why didn't you wear a black woman? So the hypocrisy is amazing, and there's more hypocrisy on the left toward blacks than there is on the right toward blacks. Just so you know, okay. That's why they want to keep the blacks in their cities. They want to keep them there. They don't want them into the suburbs or educated. If they're educated, they might go to the suburbs. Really, Brian? Yeah. Yep. But 1776 was a pivotal time in world history. Okay. And then the War of 1812 is another. This is what I find funny is that, because we live in an instant world, I'm doing this video right here, this live video. So I'm doing a live video that literally AJ that is in Malaysia can be watching. Uh, uh, Rod Henderson in Canada is watching it right now within 30 seconds. And then if somebody is in Russia can be watching this, they can be watching this right now. So let me now take you back to 1776, the Battle of New Orleans. Does anybody know that the Battle of New Orleans went on? That battle was going on after the Americans and the British had already settled and signed peace talks in Great Britain on the War of 1812. The war had already been over, but it takes months. People understand this. So they signed this document in Great Britain or wherever it was done. I think it was in Great Britain, but if it's not, don't condemn me, okay? All right, so then it had to be wrapped up and then put in on a ship. Okay, so the ship has to now sail from England to America, or maybe it had to go 2 places. Let's just say it went to Washington. So that took about a month and a half. All right. So they're getting ready to fight. The British are down there. They don't know what's going on. So they're getting ready. Andrew Jackson's getting ready to fight. The battle's going on. And now the letter had just arrived to Washington from the boat. They get off the boat. Now what do they have to do? Well, they got to get it on a horse, go from Washington to New Orleans. Do you know how far that is? Well, I'm driving 500 miles, and it's going to take me 6 hours to drive there. On a horse, it would take about a month. So it's nearly 2 months after they've signed the document that the war actually ends. Now, do you want to know another story that's pretty amazing? How many want to know another story that, to me, just is mind-boggling? Okay, so this is the Battle of Yorktown. This is the end of the war. George Washington and the French had sent a message to Lafayette, I think it was Lafayette, the French fleet that was in the Mediterranean, not the Mediterranean, in the Caribbean. Tell us the story. All right, so he had to send a letter to get to Yorktown, the bay there, because they needed to stop the British from leaving. Okay, so everything depended on that letter, number one, getting to Lafayette or getting to the French fleet in the Caribbean, them getting it, number one. And there was no on the phone or checking the wireless to see if they actually got it. So they had to get the message, and then they had the hope that they sailed up there and something didn't stop them from sailing all the way up to to Yorktown to be at the exact same place that the battle was at Yorktown. Now, if you're telling me that, well, that just happened, Brian. No, I don't take that. I take that as divine intervention. What I'm getting at is that we live in this instant world, but we have no idea of how long and how long it took from one time to another. I mean, just take from Ohio, let's say. I live in Wayne, Ohio. Okay, the county seat is in Wood County. Okay, so in 1812, if they were gonna come to my house and tell me that I was drafted for for the Civil War, they'd have to ride a horse. Well, that's going to take probably a whole day. It probably did take a whole day to get a note from Wayne to Wood County. Now, from Chicago, from Columbus to Wood County, because they'd have to, let's say they're dispatched from Columbus to Wood County, that'd take at least 2 days, maybe 3 days to ride a horse, especially when there are no roads. Now, there might have been some horse buggy roads, some free road. So those things I just find amazing how, we sometimes we want to get in a hurry and we want to do this fast and everything. And we live in a unreal world. Okay. I'm driving on a road, which I see. Oh, shoot. How am I going to do this? All right, so this is amazing. Okay, so this is Interstate 890. All right, now we have about four of these. Okay, now this road is going all the way from Chicago. Well, the road started in New York City, but it goes all the way from New York City, okay, all the way to the West Coast. And the road that we're going to be going on pretty soon, we have 500 miles to go to get to Mount Rushmore. Okay, so this road is going to go through South Dakota, just straight all the way across. And so this was built in the 1960s. All right, along with every other road was built in the 1960s. All these highways were built in the 1960s. All these were built in the 1960s. Look at how long it goes. It just goes and goes and goes. And a picture of it in Iowa is even better. And so they had to lay 500 miles of asphalt concrete. The Eisenhower Freeway. That's right, Eisenhower. Because Eisenhower knew that if he created this highway system, that it would link this country and we would explode. And that's exactly what it did. It exploded America. People could just get in a car and go anywhere. And that's what happened. But it still takes me five 500 miles to get to Mount Rushmore. And that's what's awesome about it. But I'm amazed just the amount of road that was laid in the 60s. To me, that is an engineering marvel. The amount of roads that were made and the distance and the amount of them. Uh, there wasn't just this Interstate 90. There's Interstate 80. There's Interstate 40. There's Interstate 70. There's Interstate 10. Then you have the north-south interstates, 75, 95, 85, 65, 45. every number all the way to 5 in California. I mean, it's, and this is the thing that I wish people would get an understanding of. Maybe, a person that's listening to me and that hates America, or, I wish they would just kind of just step back and just say, you know what? Let me just look at it from his perspective for just a minute. See, I don't need to look at it from from the dictator's uh, perspective, because I know what their perspective is. It's bondage. Okay, it's human bondage. I don't need to know their perspective. I know my perspective, which is freedom. Okay, freedom. That is the key. All right. Now you would say, well, what about the freedom of the slaves? And they're blah 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 blah. Well, then okay, then if you're saying that, then why are we should be going to war over in the Middle East? All your all your Muslim countries are buying and selling in slaves. In the Taliban, they're buying and selling women. Women are slaves. But we never want to talk about that. I'm not saying I know everything. I know a lot about I don't know a lot about anything, but I know a lot about everything. That's what I tell everybody. But that's my rant about America and why I think she is the greatest country man has ever produced. And that's not and that's not and that's not I don't want to say that I'm not saying that we're sliding other countries. We're America. We're great because we have Russians, we have British, we're all here because we're under the one flag, and that's why we are so great. It's because we have everybody here, and we're unified in who we are. We have Russian Americans, we have British, like Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins became an American. He's British. He became an American about 10 years ago, I think, or 15. A lot of people became Americans. That's why we're America. You got Chinese Americans. You have Japanese Americans. Everybody forms to this great country. But if it's not founded on God, we are no country. We were founded that way. It's important that we keep that history. Keep that keep that history. Well, I've used a half a tank so far. Gas is 309 here in Minnesota. I was talking to a guy that pulled into the campground last night. He came from California. He's paying $5 a gallon for his RV. There's a 50-gallon tank, so you figure the numbers, how much he was spending for his tank. Amazing. And then, you know what? There's no reason for it. The only reason it's up is because, well, they want it to be up. The Saudis want it up. Back in the 60s, gasoline was so prevalent, it was everywhere. And then they decided to turn it into a commodity. What a bunch of idiots. But I just wanted to talk about America today, guys. Give you my perspective and why we're a great nation, and that they want to tear us down because they know that we have stopped. We're the only country that's stopping tyranny. China is a tyranny. China is a communist country that would love to dominate the world and put them under their thumb. And the left, I find this very funny. The left and the media, you know, they're all for it, but they're the first ones that would be totally squashed like a fly if it happened. Now, some of them wouldn't, but they would just be the mouthpiece of the Communist Party, and then they would be okay with that. They would be the aristocracy. That's what I'm getting at. But the average citizen would not have what they would have. That's what people don't understand. That the people in Hollywood, see, they live in their gated communities. They live in their little rich areas, and they get their paid. You know, even though CNN, nobody is watching CNN. CNN's numbers are absolutely in the tank. They've lost 80% of their viewers. Even though if that was a real company, you would have to answer to your stockholders. But somebody is not answering to somebody because they would be off the air. They'd be off the air. Nobody's watching them. If I was a stockholder, I'd say, why don't we have any conservatives? Nobody's watching our network. Why is Fox News, why is Greg Gutfeld #1 on cable on Saturday night? Greg Gutfeld. Why is he beating Jimmy Kimmel? Well, Jimmy Kimmel told the American people that he hates conservatives, he hates Republicans, and that he only wants to go to the Democrats. Well, if you tell your person that, then that's what's going to happen. See, Johnny Carson never did that. Jay Leno never did that. He never came out and said, you know what, I hate you Republicans. I hate you conservatives. They never did that. Johnny Carson never did that. Johnny Carson had class in how he presented his late night show. That's why he wasn't political. He had anybody on there, and he was respectful, and that's why he was popular. Now these late night talk hosts, they're radicals. They have no concept of what they shouldn't even be on. They shouldn't even be on TV. They're not even funny. Greg Gutfeld at least is funny. He's ugly, but at least he's funny. But I could literally talk until I get there tonight. That's how funny this is. I could talk that's what God has given me, an ability to just talk. You know, I could talk. I could take over the Rush Limbaugh show right now, and I could talk 3 hours like no one's business, and enjoy it every day for 3 hours. I just talk. Maybe nobody likes me. Maybe no one listens to me. I've only gotten 8 people watching right now. Maybe it's 4th of July. They're all out having barbecue. Maybe later on. Frankie, why don't you read instead of just looking at the pictures? Oh, brother. Yeah, we stayed at a nice little camping ground called Whiskey Creek. Okay, so this was a grandma, parents, and their kids. They decided to open a campground. I guess it was their grandparents' dream for a long time, and they owned this farmland. So last year they started building this thing in 2019, and they finished it in 2020. Well, you know, the pandemic happened, so they couldn't really do anything. So this is their first official year, and they've got a pond, nice little pond, and they've got it filtered and with inflatables on it, and really nice, clean, brand new. It's just a really nice on your way type campground, but it's for their area, so anybody around there they can go there. It's called Whiskey Creek. Nice little campground, brand new, nice bathrooms. They have a pond. It's a filtered pond with sand all around it. Nice, really nice. And they were packed. They were full. They have 50 sites. They're going to add 30 more sites. So we got 8 people watching. We have 14 thumbs up, though. I don't care. As long as they got 14 thumbs up, at least 14 people have watched. Maybe some people have watched and jumped off. That's okay. I'll keep on talking for the 8 people that are watching. I'm sure that maybe a couple people will find me. You may share this to anybody you know. They can watch it from the beginning. I'm talking about America. If you hate America, I understand. Well, I wish you don't, actually. Um, but I've been saying America is the greatest nation on earth. New bid for my Bel Air is up to $56. So 56 is the, and now we're in Wisconsin or Milwaukee, and there is just, now it's just flatter than flat. And I wish I could turn the thing around, but I can't get the camera around. I, I got it all wrong. I got it upside down. I got it the wrong way. The lenses are over here on this side, and it's blocked here. And I don't know if I can get this out here like this. I could if I stopped. Frankie, you don't know how to do anything, okay? Right now, no, you're not. You're only 9 years old, okay? Well, you think you're 10. You're really 9. We lied to you. We lied to you, Frankie. You're actually 9. David last night sat with me in the campfire, just talking, just talked and talked and talked and talked. He didn't want to go to bed. He was tired. He was tired. He didn't want to go to bed, so he just sat outside when I was having by the fire and just talked, talked. David did. Mark's all upset because his girlfriend's not here. That totally changed him. My wife, so far, she's happy. She hasn't told me anything otherwise. Um, she didn't want to go on this trip. She wasn't happy. So, yes, I did. I had a cigar last night. Just kind of sat, relaxed, and watched the fire. And David come around me and just asking me questions nonstop. Why, Daddy, this? Why, Daddy, this? Daddy, why this? Why this? Why that? Why this? I just kept answering him. Well, that's because. Well, that's because. Can everybody hear me okay with my ear pod in? No background noise. There shouldn't be any background noise. It should be a nice, clear sound, I hope. Um, if not, yes. Okay, great, James. Thanks. Hey, James Reese is watching. James is one that sent us the tank. He sent me an airplane. He sent Tim a bunch of cigars. He doesn't need to do that. I don't know why he keeps doing it. But why these people send all this stuff to us, I don't know. They got Nelson. We got a Zeus in Puerto Rico that sent us all these cookies, these bimbo cookies. Like I need 5 bundles of bimbo cookies. Everybody's so kind to us. You really don't need to be. We're just average guys doing an average thing, opening a toy store. Love your show. He loves our show. Well, that's good. That's funny. I'm America. I'm America. I just thought that was amazing because it's amazing how many people hate this country. I mean, seriously, hate this country. And I find out what it's so funny is that, Hollywood, they're all upset about Bill Cosby, and I'm thinking to myself, I told my wife, I go, why are they upset about Bill Cosby getting off? Okay. That's the way they all are over there. Hollywood, are you kidding? They're all having affairs with everybody else. Everybody's doing it. To children, to everybody. Why are you guys surprised? Orange juice there, Budzo. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you're not, huh? David, did you just hit me? David, can you tell them how to spell door? He doesn't know how to spell door. Can you believe that? How do you spell door? So right now we're in the flat parts heading. We have 100 miles yet to South Dakota yet. I'm finally at 484 miles. Finally down into 484. When I get into 200s, I'll be happy. Then I know it's over. Because the reason I'm not affected about miles. I know when I used to drive from San Antonio to El Paso is 800 miles, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, or maybe it wasn't 800, maybe it was 500 miles. And so when everybody says, oh, we got to go 200 miles, I go, that's nothing. 200 miles? Are you kidding? Tom Mackey, just checking. Have a 4th of July. Yeah, I'm just going over America, why America is great, and why there's so many people that hate this country. I don't get it. It's what it is. It's the people. It's the students. The teachers. It's the teachers in universities, in these colleges, and these high schools that are Marxists. They're communists. They should be purged from our schools. If you're a communist and a socialist or a Marxist, you should not be teaching. I'm sorry, there was no right for you to teach. I had my brother came out with a comment that, this, what's her name? She has a right to stand on the podium and put her fist up and I'm saying, and that my stepdad Mac fought in World War II for her to do that, and I'm thinking, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. She does not have the right. She is representing America. Okay, if she doesn't want to, then she can do it personally, but not if she's representing America in the Olympics. She should not do that, and that should be illegal. That she should be kicked off the team. She has a right to do that on her own, with not associated with the Olympics. Period. And now you're finding out she's a racist too. I mean, all the tweets that she did. I don't want to go down that road. But anyway, so we are traveling down the road. So I was watching What's My Line last night, and they had on Eddie Albert and Gaga Gabor. She was in Green Acres, and that was the #1 show in America at 9 o'clock. #1 show in America at 9 o'clock, and in 1969 they canceled it. #1. And I said this a couple days ago, yesterday, and CBS did it because they wanted to have more shows that represented the cities, that the cities weren't being represented enough. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? If it was #1 in America, that is America. That's who you're trying to reach, is America. So they went out with all these other shows. They canceled every show, everything that was on TV. Petticoat Junction, Green Acres, Gunsmoke, all these shows, boom, canceled. And that's where CBS is right now, in the tank. They can't even get a 5 share, 6 share. People say, what's a 5 or 6? 5 means 5 million people. Do you realize that Lucy's show, just to get a perspective of how popular she was, Lucy had a 50 share. Do you know what that means? 50 million Americans were watching her show every week. Kind of take that in for perspective. Now shows are canceled for a 3 or 4 share. Or no, they're #1 and they have a 3 or 4 share. Back in the 60s, those would have been, they wouldn't even been on the air. Jimmy Kimmel, he would have been off the air already, or replaced already. If the networks were honest and they had honest men running them, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Colbert, none of them would be on TV right now. They'd have been canned a long time ago and replaced with somebody that was going to give them the highest share, no matter what their political opinion is. I'm just giving you facts, guys. Now you'll go fact check and they'll say, well, Brian, you were right. You weren't right about the 50 share. It was actually 47. Oh, I'm sorry. I was off by 3 million people. So drive on this road 90, it just goes forever. And that's what I've always find amazing is it just goes for there. And there's millions of miles of this. Well, not millions, hundreds of miles and thousands of miles of this all over America. And this has to be repaired on an annual basis. And we take it granted for it sometimes a lot. The amount of taxes that have to be paid to keep it upkept. Okay, so we're 140 miles to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 140 miles. 140 miles. We're right around the corner. Right around the corner. We're going to stop and we'll probably need to get gas before that. And Frankie, we're not eating today, Frankie. Good grief. We just ate, Frankie. What time is your phone, dear? What time does your phone show? What time is your phone? Have we already got the other hour? 11:58. All right, so we haven't gained the other hour. I don't know where the other hour comes. I don't know if it's closer to Rapid City. I thought it's 2 hours. Well, I got to get in the left lane because this right lane has. See, what happened is when they made these highways, they have these concrete, and they're like 12-foot sections of concrete. They cut them. Well, over time, they've settled, and then what they try to do is they then overlay it with asphalt, but it never. You now you have these rumbles where they poured. I wish I could show you. I got to change this camera thing, but I can't do it while I'm driving or I'm going to have a wreck. Yeah, you see those black strips? See the black strips? Don't wreck. Well, that's what it's causing a car to. So I have to get in the left lane because the left lane doesn't have many of those rumble strips. Yeah, I can't get it. So there's less. Yesterday, I had the camera flipped over, and so the camera's on this side. I can't flip it over because it's already oriented for this aspect. Yeah, so you're shaking your head. You don't know why I'm in the left lane there, buddy. And that's why you moved to the left lane because you don't want those rumble strips either. And I'm in the left lane because I don't want to have my jaw rumbled out. Oh, maybe he was shaking his head because I had all the Trump stuff on the back. And he's probably a Biden supporter. Well, I hope you're glad. Hope you're happy paying $3 a gallon for gas. That's what I find amazing. You know, these people don't understand how gas gets to these pipelines, why they're canceling these pipelines. They really, I think, want to take us to the Stone Age. I think their goal is really to get rid of fossil or not petroleum and just everybody live in little tiny cities. I think they want us to get out of the country. They're trying to engineer um, a alternate living. That's my only. It's the only way I can believe it. And I don't know how they could stop the pipeline after it was already being built. I don't know how that can happen. No, I have a half a tank. Half a tank will get me 25 times 250 miles. I think I'm going uphill. High grade. Do you know if the generator is still on? I don't know. It stays on and it stays off. It stays on and stays off. See, the left lane is not worn as, it doesn't have as much, it hasn't been used as much as the right lane. Well, all these gas stations. Let's see if it still rumbles. I'll move over somewhat, not a lot. See, I think a lot of these states have realized that, I mean, these all should be redone now. And this is what the stimulus should be, to hire every teenage kid in America to rebuild these roads. But that's true stimulus. Now they want to do it recklessly. That really does nothing to really improve anything. This road needs to be replaced now, okay? Because this is just going to get worse. But it would take 10 years. If they did it correctly, it would take 10 years to redo every highway in America. But no fortitude to do it. No guts. No. Uh, now there's a new road here. So they replaced it. Replaced the section here. We're on a new road right now. This is all new. So this is all new. You can see it's brand new. See it? It's all new. And it goes for 460 miles, even more. It probably goes to all the way to California or Washington State. So that's the new highway. They must replace this. I think they did this last year, if I'm not mistaken. Concrete, too. It's all concrete. This is all, that's the only way a road should be, is concrete. I don't believe in asphalt. The heat destroys it. You do concrete correctly, It should last 10, 20, 30 years at least. A lot of these roads were built in the 60s. And that's almost 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 20. That's 70 years ago. Some of these roads. Anyway, that's just my opinion. You're watching this because you know my opinion. We've got 9 people watching. Oh, well. Yeah, I guess you guys like me or something. Okay, here comes a Mustang with a convertible Mustang. They must be reading my video or my stickers on the back. Let's see if they flip me off or they give me thumbs up. She waved. She waved at least. Not a farm area here. This is what the breadbasket of America is, guys. Play nice. This is the breadbasket of the world. We grow more crops in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Kansas, Nebraska than anywhere most of the world. There's more corn here than you could possibly imagine. Okay, it's windy. Yeah, it's windy, all right. Yeah, it's windy. Holy moly. Yep, it's windy. Pushing on this RV is not helping fuel mileage. They got a small camper. Not a lot of people on the road. Not a lot. I think next year, I think I'd like to go next year? The Florida Keys. There's a police car. Pulled over somebody. Yep. 461. Kathy, are you still watching? What are some of these big emails? I can't read them. These texts, I can't read some of these. I don't know, the last couple. Boy, it's windy, man. Man, oh man. All right, so all right. All right, thank you. All right, so the point that all you were making is that yes, their plans fail, and that's why China is in such chaos. Um, they think they've gone 100 years, and I don't think they're going to go many more because they are literally destroying that country. There's so many aspects that I could tell you about, but I just don't put stock in the Communist Party. None of them. That's why we got all these professors teaching our children hate America. When you have that, why not hate? I just don't think they should have a job to do that. You want to start your own university? You want to be a private university? Fine, do that. You're not getting any. You're not getting any funding. That's why more and more kids are leaving. More and more parents are pulling their kids out of the public school system. And what's really funny, what's happened about this COVID-19, it's really awoken a lot of parents to what their kids are being taught because they're hearing it now at home from the teachers themselves. And this is why the parents are waking up and saying, hey, listen, we don't want any of this crap. And this is exactly what's happening. So I hate to say there's a silver lining in the COVID lockdown, but if there was one, that is it. That Americans have been listening to how their children have been taught, and they're saying, I don't believe any of that garbage. And now they're speaking out. They don't want this critical race theory. They don't want this Marxist communist horse manure fed their kids down their throat. And then their kids are anti-American. You know what I'm saying? Boy. Well, that's funny. I spoke at the school board meeting in Bowling Green back in 1999, I think. And I said to him, I said, and I was amazed at the response. I said, we need to teach our kids more focus on um, reading, writing, and mathematics. And this one of the school board leaders actually stated to me that that there's more focus now. We need to be focusing on other things too. I go, there's nothing more important than reading, writing, and mathematics. And that's what a lot of schools are right now. They're not teaching, well, in the inner cities, they're not teaching anything. Half the students in the inner school system, inner city schools, are not being taught anything. They just go there and the kids learn nothing all day long. There's not even and the unions, they just keep backing the teachers. And the teachers are teaching nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I call it's a bunch of you know, commie, 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 commie. You know what I'm saying? Does everybody get what I'm saying? Commie. You know what I'm saying? Okay, good. So everybody understands what I'm saying. I'm saying when I say commie, you get it, right? Okay, good. All right, so we are coming up on an exit. I don't know if I want to get gas yet. I think I should. Speedway. Oh, I think I'm gonna use one of my Speedway cards. I think I am gonna get gas. Wonder how much it is. I was trying to get into this one town closer. There's a Walmart here. I don't think there's like when we were in Wisconsin, there were no McDonald's. None of the WalMarts had gas stations. I wonder if it was out. I think some of them outlaw gas stations. Yeah, they don't have gas stations. Yeah, I don't see. Divided highway. Okay, so we got to get across the street here. Mm. 314. No, 304. I guess that's not that bad. Could be worse. It could be 329. I just, it makes me, I don't want to say it makes me mad, but it does make me mad that these gas prices are this high when they shouldn't be. We have so much oil, and that they're forcing it up. It's intentional. I think that's the thing that's that's so frustrating. That it's frustrating. When possible, make a U-turn, then take the first right. Well, guys, I'm going to pull out here, and I think we're going to call it a day right now. I might do another one later today when we get closer to Rapid City. So we will talk to you later on another video. This one was 100 minutes. Okay, so we're going to sign off and say adios, amigos, and have a great day. We'll see you later, maybe.